Hello and welcome to this edition of Reporters on France24, the weekly magazine featuring in-depth stories from correspondents around the world. I'm Andrea Sankey. This week, it's been just over a month now since Hamas, the militant Palestinian organization, took control of Gaza, forcing out the Fatah opposition and assuming total power over police and security forces. Although most of the world has refused to recognize Hamas as a political structure in Gaza, the group continues struggling to function, insisting that Hamas was democratically chosen by Palestinians to rule. Meanwhile, economic sanctions enforced by Israel and the international community are further choking civilians already struggling to survive. And the Fatah party supporters who chose to stay in Gaza keep a low profile as they attempt to regroup. Here now, our reporter Lucas Manger takes a look at the turbulent territory of Gaza today under the rule of Hamas.
Get out of the road, faster, to the right.
In Gaza, Hamas is the only authority. Every day, the new masters show who's in charge and are determined to bring order to this small but vital territory.
All men older than 15, outside, quickly, quickly.
Today, their objective is to arrest 2 suspected murderers and disarm a powerful armed clan. The operation occurs in the very center of Gaza City. With a maximum of sirens, cars, and weapons, Hamas is showing its strength. The whole area is targeted. Women and children are caught up in the melee. The police no longer work alone here. Hamas has ordered militias from its armed wing, the Ezzedine al-Qassam brigades, to provide extra manpower. Their men are more used to military operations than police work. Just weeks ago, they were living in hiding and organizing attacks against Israel and rival Palestinian faction Fatah. All the men of the tribe are arrested, shocked at the tactics used to restore order to Gaza. But the police and the militiamen do not always see eye to eye.
No hitting on camera.
In the space of half an hour, the operation has spread panic and anger throughout the neighborhood. The head of the family tries to defend his honor. In Gaza, powerful armed clans like this are Hamas's #1 target. Taken back by the violence of his new colleagues, the police commissioner tries to calm the situation.
We know that Ayad Abu Amra is here, and he's a murderer. He killed a member of the Psesso family. There's also another criminal, one of the biggest car thieves in Gaza. So the police launched this operation to arrest them. With our anti-criminal squads, we've arrested a lot of men. But they're innocent. After checks, they'll be released.
Among the dozens of men taken to the police station, only 2 were arrested. The murder suspects were never found. The most important thing for the new security force is to be seen in charge. On the same day that British journalist Alan Johnston was released, Hamas tried to improve its image by welcoming foreigners with banners. It also ordered its executive force to help out on the streets as a sort of backup police force. Hamas took power by force, and in its wake, an appearance of calm has returned. But for many Gazans, it's an illusion. Fatah supporters are in hiding, stunned by their defeat. Some fled, while others have stayed. Ahmad is a former military intelligence officer who fought Hamas up to the final day of the conflict. Occasionally, he betrays his disappointment, but never in public, only in the privacy of his own home. His old uniform and weapons are hidden away, but he has no intention of supporting Gaza's new rulers.
If they ask me to hand in my weapons, I won't do it. Firstly, they're mine. And also, it's a question of honor. As an officer, for the time being, I've received no order. If they do it, I'll send a lawyer.
Sometimes, despite the danger, Ahmad risks a trip outside. On every street corner, he could be recognized by Hamas soldiers, but he wants to see his former comrades, to discuss, again and again, the story of Fatah's defeat in Gaza.
We talk in general about the reasons for the fall of Gaza and the role of Abu Mazen. Because why is he leaving Gaza in this state? He's wrong. And I don't need to talk with the Hamas to know that they didn't have to make too many efforts to take Gaza. It was simple and easy for them. But for us, it's not a defeat, it's a fiasco. Between ourselves we talk about Abu Mazen, but above all, about national security because it's our job.
Many soldiers remained in Gaza and know full well that Hamas could put an end to their gatherings at any moment. This cafe is a popular meeting spot for former spies. All the customers once belonged to Fatah's intelligence services.
It reassures us to be together. It's as if we were at work.
Ahmad is proud of having stayed in Gaza, proud of risking his life and choosing not to abandon the territory to Hamas. These sentiments are shared by the head of Fatah in Gaza. He's in charge of organizing the political counterattack, but comrades are hard to find. Most Fatah activists dare not show their faces in public. One Saturday morning at the party's headquarters, an associate of Palestinian President Abbas tries to organize a meeting.
We're not missing the people who left their jobs. We're doing just fine. These people didn't deserve the posts they occupied. Plus, they had been useless for a long time. Fatah is restructuring and has been getting rid of those who made us lose the last elections.
Despite hours spent on the telephone trying to convince his friends and allies to attend, no one agrees to come and aid the resistance. Since the 15th of June, Gaza has been cut off from the rest of the world. No country recognizes the Hamas government, and links with Abbas's emergency government in Ramallah don't exist. Two authorities, perhaps two Palestines, but at what cost? Gaza's facing economic crisis, and yet, officially, according to Hamas, all is well. This is Bassem Naim, a central figure in the Hamas government. They're trying to prove to Palestinians and to the world that Hamas can effectively govern a territory alone. They say Hamas is there because the people voted for them. A father of 6 children, Naim was a surgeon. Now he's in charge of 3 areas of government: health, youth and sport, and prisoners.
Hamas has always supported the Palestinian people, even before being part of the government, thanks to its social and humanitarian work, helping the poor, widows, and orphans. And now that we're governing, we're not going to forget them. If there is any crisis, it won't be because of Hamas. If we had freedom to circulate, we could have transformed Gaza into the Singapore of the Middle East.
The minister wants to show us that under Hamas's rule, children are not forgotten. During the holidays, he leads us to a classroom, the only one occupied in the whole school. When we ask where the money came from to finance the computer equipment, the response is vague.
All food and everyday expenses for children are financed in cooperation with ministries and NGOs based outside the Palestinian territories.
In Ramallah, the government continues to pay Gaza's public sector workers, but refuses to finance the ministries. In his office, Naim insists Hamas will not be stopped by the financial blockade from Ramallah. But Mahmoud Abbas shows no signs of ending the financial squeeze on Gaza. With the support of the international community, his emergency government is now solely managing the West Bank. To understand how the two major Palestinian factions came to civil war, we go to see Ashraf al-Ajrani. Like his enemy in Gaza, he's Minister for Prisoners. He has just fled Gaza for Ramallah, where the pursuit of Hamas fighters continues. But this Fatah supporter refuses any comparison.
In the West Bank, the situation is different. We're trying to arrest all armed men. It all started with Fatah militants, and now it's continuing with Hamas men. We can't compare the two situations.
It seems that no one accepts responsibility for the internal strife in the Palestinian territories. The same cars, the same bodyguards, two cities, one conflict between the modern Islamist party and the old secular party, which has left ordinary Palestinians as the victims. Without much enthusiasm, al-Ajrani heads to the Council of Ministers, presided over by Salam Fayyad. The government is meant to handle the emergency and fight off the political offensive from Hamas. His title suggests that the minister is the real boss. That's what he tells people all day, as if to convince himself it's true.
In reality, there's only one ministry, this one here, in Ramallah. The one in Gaza is now nothing more than a branch office. Even if there's a former minister in Gaza, that doesn't mean anything. He can't control anything. It's just window dressing.
أن يتحكم في أي شيء وفقط هذه مسألة مظهرية.
All is in fact a question of appearances. This, for example, used to be a sports center used by female Hamas activists. And this party leader from the West Bank wants to show us how far the reprisals from Fatah have affected people's lives. Even as Hamas soldiers were overthrowing Fatah in Gaza, the symbols of the Islamist party were being attacked in Ramallah. Both sides see themselves as victims. This man, who has just been released from prison, is a case in point.
It's not a war between Hamas and Fatah. It's a unilateral attack. Here in the West Bank, Hamas hasn't retaliated against either Fatah, the government, or the security forces from 1994.
Though things may appear calm, weapon stocks are being replenished. Hamas, which prides itself on organization and discipline, is training and equipping its executive force to impose order and security, but also perhaps to prepare for future conflicts. Everyone knows the situation cannot last, and that it will not necessarily be resolved by peaceful means. For the time being, Gazans seem to be simply relieved that the fighting is over. With daily necessities hard to come by, the sea and the beach are often the only possible distractions. Ziad Matusk, a university student, tries to talk politics with his family at the water's edge.
It's true, things are calm and people are coming to the beach, but that doesn't mean anything. In my opinion, there's no economic and political perspective here. Gaza and Palestine were known for their political diversity and freedom of speech, but since Hamas took over, all that's gone. It's difficult for people to say what they think, and there are no opposition TV channels. I don't think there's any political perspective if the Palestinian Authority, if President Abbas continues to refuse to talk to Hamas.
In Gaza, the calm sea belies the undercurrent of tension that's become a daily reality for its residents.
And Lucas Manchet, the reporter on that story, joins us now for additional comment. Lucas, thanks for coming in. How long, essentially, do you think Hamas will and can remain in power in Gaza, considering the international pressure it's under via sanctions, for example, and the divisions of the Palestinian people themselves?
It's very hard to say because, as you know, Gaza is a closed territory, but Hamas can rule this territory with money coming from abroad, essentially from Saudi Arabia, maybe a little bit from Iran, from countries like that who are helping Hamas to rule in Gaza. But that's true that the international community ban of the Hamas is very hard for the Palestinians in the streets, and they're struggling. A lot of people are not paid anymore. So there's a huge economic crisis arriving in Gaza. Nobody knows exactly when it will occur, but the Ramallah power, the Fatah power, is doing his best to put a maximum of pressure on the Gaza Strip.
But how badly do the civilians in Gaza want to support Hamas?
People in Gaza supported Hamas in January 2006, and they elected the Hamas for the general elections. And people are supporting Hamas, but they're afraid, for example, of the violence of the Ezzedine al-Qassam brigades, who are fighting. This is a military branch of the Hamas. And people are starting to be a little bit afraid of too much power in the hands of only the Hamas. So it's a strange feeling in the streets. People are happy to see the end of the fightings, but they're afraid of the future.
Okay. How hard is Hamas trying to win a PR battle of sorts? By inviting you, for example, to come and report on what they're doing in Gaza, do you feel you were perhaps part of a PR effort?
They did not invite us. We decided to go there. But when the Hamas saw that we were here, and we arrived the day of the release of Alan Johnston, for example, the minister that you see in the story, Bassem Naim, he asked Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of the Hamas, if he was able to talk. And Haniyeh apparently told him, yes, explain everything, explain how we work, and this is peace in Gaza. We have to show this peace. But as you saw in the story, it's a very strange peace. It may be a peace for a few weeks, because the Fatah fighters are not far, and they're just waiting.
Okay, Lucas. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of Reporters. Thank you so much for joining us. That is all for this edition of France24. Remember, if you'd like more information on this program and others on our channel, you can always log on to our website. That's at France24.com. Click on Special Reports if you'd like more information specifically on this program. I'm Andrea Sankey. Thanks for joining us. Until next week, then. Bye-bye.